Everyone knows how the Italian game goes. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4. This is one of the best openings because you just develop simply and you can castle early. In this position, the two most common responses for black are knight f6 and bishop c5. You could continue playing standardly with moves like d3 and knight c3, or you could play these two openings that are super fun, super effective, and you can win in just a few moves. This will be a two-part series. In the first part, I will cover what to do against knight f6. In this position, you will play the move knight g5. This attack is called the fried liver. The point of it is you now have two pieces staring at f7. If you can get the knight to f7, you will end up forking the queen and the rook. If you can get the bishop to f7, you will end up forcing the king to move, meaning that they can't castle and it blocks the development of their bishop and queen. This is one of the best openings in the beginner level because it's super trappy and you can win games really easily. Now in this position, there's really only 3 moves, and 2 of them are gambits. The main move is d5. Black is stopping the threat by blocking the bishop. This position you have to capture. When you see this position, what is your instinct as black? You want to take this, right? But this is a mistake. Why is this a mistake? Because of the absolute bomb, which is knight takes f7. Brilliant move. Now, what is the point of this move? Yes, this is forking both of these, but this is also free to capture. It is, but queen f3 wins back the knight and gives a check. In this position, white is almost winning already. So now the king has quite a few moves to go to, but there's only one move that can potentially save them, and that move is king to e6. The point is, the king now defends the knight. If you see the move king to e6, you will play knight c3, adding pressure onto this knight. Now, the only way that black can defend this knight is by moving this one to b4 or e7, or potentially d4 counter-attacking on the queen. However, we're going to cover this a bit later. Let's go back and look at the previous variations quickly. So I said there were only 3 moves and 2 of them are gambits. One of them is the move bishop c5. This is called the Traxler Counter-Attack. The point is, if you now take like this is a mistake because they can play the move bishop takes f2. Because if you take knight takes e4, it comes with check. The king has to move, say you go to g1. Black can now come out and play queen h4. Now, this is evaluated as 0.0 because black can get a perpetual draw, which means repeating moves. But that's only if you're lucky and know what to do. Black now has this threat of checkmate on f2 and it's very dangerous. You can lose if you don't know what to do against this. If you do see the Traxler Counter-Attack, I recommend just taking like this with the bishop. After they move their king, you can now just retreat with your bishop. And now look at the position. Black cannot castle. You have taken their f-pawn. Your bishop has a great diagonal here. Your knight is still on this dangerous square where a fork can now happen. And white is just in a much better position. The counter-attack has done absolutely nothing. The other gambit is this move knight takes e4, which is a very, very tricky move. The point of this is if you now play the move knight takes e4, your opponent can now play d5, which is a center fork. If you try to win back the pawn by doing a desperado, after black plays queen takes e5, you are in some trouble. If this knight moves, black can now capture that pawn. Let's say you try to play the move knight c3, the queen can just go back. Black has the bishop pair. They have better center space right now. Your knight is in a little awkward position on e4 and black is just doing better. If you decide to continue with the fork, black can now play the move queen h4, which again threatens checkmate. After a long series of moves, you will find yourself slightly behind. So again, instead of all that, you should just play bishop takes f7, king e7, and now the best move is d4. Not only does the bishop now guard the knight, but if black decides to take the knight, they'll end up losing their queen to a skewer. If black takes this pawn, you can just play bishop d5. Bishop d5 is a killing move. You are now threatening to take the knight. Again, the knight can still not take. If the knight decides to go back to c6, queen e2 is a really good check. Now, the game is pretty much over. Black's king will end up having to charge up the board, and you will end up winning in the next 5 or 10 moves. If they decide to capture with the knight instead, this is still bad for them because after c3, if they try to retreat, you can just retreat with your bishop, and the threats on the king are just too severe. You can play queen f3 soon, you can play queen h5 soon, you can play knight f7, winning a fork. You could do so much that temporarily being a pawn down just doesn't matter. And if instead of retreating they play the best move, which is h6, you just play knight takes e4, king takes f7, c takes d4, e takes d4, queen takes d4, and you are just up 2 points of material. You're up a piece for a pawn. You are going to win this game as long as you don't blunder. Adding on top of that, you can castle, you have a solid pawn structure, you are just so much better. Now that we've discussed the other variations, let's get back to this position. Black has a lot of moves. Moves like queen f6, king g8, king e8, and as we've already discussed, king e6 is the best move. But what if they do play one of those moves? For example, many people will play the move king e8, simply going back to the start square. This is bad for black because now you can play bishop takes d5, again threatening checkmate. Now in this position, in the Elite Chess database, the most common move is knight d4, which literally hangs mate in 1. That is how fast you can win as a beginner by playing the fried liver. But what if they play a more sensible move like queen f6? If you see queen f6, you will just take this, you will double their pawns, and now you will play queen h5. You are cleanly a pawn up. Black has these ugly double pawns, an isolated pawn in the center. Their king cannot castle because it has moved. This position is just miles better for white, and you will find yourself winning easily as long as you develop traditionally, you keep your king safe, you will be completely fine. Now another possibility, and this move some people actually play it, is king g8. Yes, that is mate in 3. Bishop takes d5, queen takes d5, queen takes, bishop blocks, and you have won. You have won a game in 10 moves. So let's get back to this variation, which is the best. If they defend with a move knight b4, which also threatens a fork, you will play the fantastic move, castling. The point being, you want to play rook e1. Yes, you are allowing them to take on c2, but if they do take, you can now play bishop takes c5. Black may end up getting checkmated very soon, as there are threats everywhere on the board. So therefore, the only move is c6, defending the knight. If you see c6, you will strike in the center with d4. Is that just giving up a free pawn? No. Now you have opened the e-file completely, allowing the rook to give a check. You have sacrificed material to move away their defending pawn. Now I'm going to show you how you can just win in a few moves. King d7. Now you can just trade everything here. Bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, queen takes d5. Although black is up 2 points of material, your attack is just way too strong. What will end up happening is after bishop d6, you can play bishop f4, putting more pressure. If they don't defend with queen f8 or queen f6, which would threaten the bishop, you could just play rook e6. If they do, you'll play the move rook e4. you will end up winning this pawn, winning the bishop, and in turn winning the game. If they decide to not trade and play the move knight takes c2, which is a fork, you can actually just play the move queen f5, which will not only win the knight back, but can lead to a catastrophic attack on the king. Let's say king d6, bishop f4, king c6, queen takes c2 check, the king takes the 9, and now rook a c1 is mate. Now that was fun, but the best move isn't taking back immediately. The best move is actually knight a5. If you see your opponent playing knight e5, that means they know what they're doing. If you see knight a5, you will play the move bishop b5, check. Why are you playing this move? It looks very strange, doesn't it? Because they can just play c6. After d takes c6 and b takes c6, you could just go back to d3, which is the more classic variation, or you can play this move queen f3, which I prefer. The point is, if they now decide to take, you will end up winning the rook. Although this is the best variation for black, it's still very playable for white, and at a lower elo, almost no one will play knight a5. This opening is so easy, you can learn it in like 10 minutes, and I guarantee at a lower elo, you could win 70-80% of your games by playing this. This is part of the reason why the Italian game is so strong. But not only can you play the fried liver, if they decide to play bishop c5, there is a move here that is so bizarre but so catastrophical on black's position. And it is so fun. But I'm going to cover that next time. If you want to see that video, please remember to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and bye-bye.